Best time to visit Japan. When is the best time to visit Japan? You have decided you want to visit Japan, great. But now comes the hard part, planning. To help you with your planning, we've created the ultimate guide to Japan seasons, weather, and friends. Use this information to pick a time with confidence and get the Japan you've been dreaming about. The most important thing to keep in mind is that seasons and weather in Japan vary a lot from place to place. Japan stretches from the frigid northern island of Hokkaido, all the way to the subtropical islands of Okinawa in the far southwest. As you can imagine, Hokkaido experiences longer and more pronounced winters than the rest of Japan. In contrast, Okinawa enjoys longer summers and relative warmth almost year-round. In between, in places like Tokyo and Kyoto, on Japan's main island of Honshu, things tend to be less extreme. Winter. Early December can be great if you don't mind some cold, but mid to late December gets very crowded for New Year's. January, after the New Year's holidays, and February can be great if you don't mind the cold, because there are very few tourists. Winter in Japan offers amazing seafood, incredible onsen, hot springs, experiences, not to mention some of the best powder in the world for skiing and snowboarding. Tips on visiting Japan in winter. In general, you'll find far fewer tourists visit Japan in winter. But there are some notable exceptions to keep in mind. There are a ton of activities and holidays in Japan between December 29th and January 10th, so it's best to time your visit around these dates to avoid full occupancy in hotels, overcrowded public transit, and higher room rates. Temples are often inundated over the New Year's holiday, so it's best to arrive early in the morning to beat the crowds. Visitors during the week between Christmas and New Year's should also double-check to make sure museums and tourist attractions and points of interest are actually open. Spring. Late March and early April, cherry blossom season, are beautiful, but it's one of the most crowded and expensive times of year. Spring in Japan is famous for the cherry blossom season, and if you're lucky, and don't mind the crowds, you may experience hanami, cherry blossom viewing, in all its glory. This romantic time of year is popular for honeymoons in Japan. Spring in Japan lasts from about mid-March to May, depending on the location. The weather in spring is notoriously fickle, with temperatures ranging from approximately 40 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 to 18 degrees Celsius. On some days you may still want your winter coat, while on other days you may not even need a sweater. While the beauty of the cherry blossoms in bloom is undeniably alluring, whether or not flower viewing in Japan is worth the potential downsides is not quite as clear. Would-be travelers to Japan often try to coordinate their trips to coincide with hanami season, but Mother Nature is unpredictable. In some years, the sakura bloom early, and in others they arrive late. In lucky years they might linger on the trees for a couple of weeks, while in others a strong wind or rain may scatter them early. Why you might want to avoid cherry blossom season. More tourists. Lower accommodation availability. Higher accommodation prices. A need to plan much further in advance. Golden Week. There is one week in spring that we definitely recommend avoiding, unless you simply have no choice, Golden Week. Along with the New Year's holiday, and the Obon holiday in August, Golden Week is one of Japan's peak travel weeks. Golden Week usually begins at the very end of April, and runs through the first week of May. Each year's calendar varies slightly. During this time of year, Japanese people travel heavily, making it an extremely busy and expensive time to travel around in Japan. Summer. Mid to late May is great, with pleasant weather and not so many crowds. June can be nice, but is often rainy and humid. July and August are very hot and humid, but also lively with lots of festivals. Summer is arguably the most festive time of year, with colorful Matsuri festivals throughout the country, the chance to hike in the mountains, and lovely coastal areas where you can enjoy the sea. Summer in Japan lasts from about June to mid-September, depending on the location. Summers are hot and humid, with temperatures ranging from approximately 70 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 to 32 degrees Celsius. July and August are typically the hottest and most humid times of year, and can be uncomfortable for sightseeing if you are averse to humidity. But despite, or perhaps because of, the torrid climate, summer can also be one of the liveliest times to be in Japan. How hot and humid is summer in Japan? Apart from the usual summer crowds, thanks in great part to summer vacations taking place across half the world, one of the potential downsides of visiting Japan in summer is the heat and humidity, which can be uncomfortable at times. Tips on visiting Japan in summer. So if you're visiting Japan in summer, but want to mitigate your exposure to heat and humidity, it's worth trying to spend as much time as you can in places such as the Japanese Alps, Tohoku, northern Japan, and Hokkaido. You'll still have the chance to experience summer, but in a milder way than if you were in the major cities. Fall or autumn. Mid to late September can be nice, if hot, with fewer tourists than summer or fall. October and November have very pleasant autumn weather, but also crowds rivaling spring, especially for the fall foliage in November. Fall in Japan is another magical, and highly popular, time of year, with brilliant autumn colors and crisp, pleasant temperatures. Autumn in Japan lasts from about mid-September to early December, depending on the location. Fall is widely considered to be the most pleasant time, weather-wise, to visit Japan, with temperatures ranging from approximately 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 to 21 degrees Celsius. Tips on visiting Japan in fall. Japan's fall foliage season is in many ways similar to cherry blossom season, in terms of the appeal and potential downsides, described in more detail above. As with Hanami season travel, Koyo travel means contending with more tourists, lower accommodation availability, higher accommodation prices, and a need to plan further in advance. So, do you have any idea on which season you would love to visit Japan? Or have you visited Japan during your favorite season? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.